I'm SeeJayAre, and this is my review of Marvel's Spider-Man on the PS4.
Team Canada.
Much like the film franchise, the Spider-Man video game series has seen its ups and downs over the years, and with 2017's release of Spider-Man Homecoming, we saw a return to form for Spider-Man on the big screen. The PS4 exclusive Spider-Man hopes to do the same when it comes to video games. Insomniac Games is well known for its acumen when it comes to delivering a concise and technically proficient traversal of a 3D environment. This was on full display in 2014's underrated Xbox One exclusive Sunset Overdrive. Insomniac has been at the forefront of 3D action-adventure games since they entered the scene with the Spyro the Dragon franchise on the original PlayStation. The evolution of the genre could be witnessed with the developers' work on the Ratchet & Clank series, which has spanned 3 generations of Sony consoles. Despite the long relationship with Sony, it was arguably Insomniac's lone flirtation with Microsoft exclusivity that proved that they were the top candidate to revitalize the Spider-Man franchise. 20 years of development have provided the framework for what is arguably the pinnacle of 3D open-world traversal. Combined with some gorgeous visuals and a compelling narrative, Spider-Man stands alone as the greatest Spider-Man video game and arguably the best in its genre. The game's story is well executed for the most part, featuring multiple story arcs and narrative viewpoints. Marvel's Spider-Man skips the origin story and follows a Peter Parker with 8 years of experience behind the mask. The game is successful in highlighting Peter's struggle with balancing personal responsibilities and relationships while carrying the weight of knowing that the fate of New York City rests on his shoulders. The story's central plot revolves around Peter Parker's relationship with Dr. Otto Octavius and his inevitable fall into madness. If you know anything about the Spider-Man universe, you'll recognize the road that Peter's brilliant mentor is headed down, but it's that journey that makes this the game's most compelling storyline. Spider-Man isn't afraid to shock. There were several catastrophic events featured during my 30 to 40 hour play experience, including a terrorist attack and the death of several characters leading up to a climactic ending. While there are multiple interesting plot lines that are intertwined throughout the story, it can get a little overwhelming at times, and there are a few that I could have done without, including the entire Silver Sable arc. It's a minor gripe for what otherwise is a story that's on par with the best of the Spider-Man films. There's been a surprising amount of controversy revolving around Spider-Man's graphics, and I'm happy to report that the game is absolutely gorgeous. While it may not quite live up to that now infamous E3 trailer, it's pretty damn close. Spider-Man is a massive game that takes place in a fully realized New York City, full of character, charm, grit, and violence. The city looks fantastic, whether you're perched atop the Empire State Building or in the streets of Times Square. Admittedly, there are some NPCs that look as though they were plucked straight from GTA 4, along with some lower resolution textures scattered throughout the game, but nothing that takes away from the overall experience. This is the first game where I've actually been looking forward to using the photo mode and capturing the beauty of the in-game universe. There are also several dozen suits that Spider-Man can adorn throughout the game, and each one provides a unique visual experience alongside special abilities. Swinging through the streets of New York, I found myself on autopilot at times, while I marveled at the beautifully rendered suits as Spider-Man navigated through the sea of skyscrapers. The game's voice acting is also fantastic, with the work of Yuri Lowenthal as Spider-Man stealing the show as the wisecracking web-slinger. In a game that relies so heavily on narrative, it was of vital importance that the main character be believable as the iconic hero, and Insomniac made the correct choice in casting Lowenthal. Overall, the visuals and sound in Spider-Man rival anything we've seen on consoles to date. The most important aspect of any Spider-Man video game is the adaptation of his special abilities, and specifically the traversal through a 3D environment. Insomniac nailed this so well that I'm actually struggling to articulate my feelings, and all I can say is, wow. I have simply never played a video game that has felt this good to control. It takes a little bit of time to learn how to chain multiple ways to navigate through the world, but once you get a firm grasp on the controls, you'll completely forget about using fast travel to move through the boroughs. Combat is also a thing of beauty. At first, you'll find yourself spamming the basic attack buttons, but after a few hours, you'll be combining stealth takedowns with gadget attacks and special abilities provided by your current suit. Using Spider-Man's full array of abilities and gadgets is vital to your success in combat, as you'll often be faced with hordes of enemies and multiple attackers. Spider-Man isn't a difficult game once you've grasped the combat systems and learned how to dodge attacks. Instead, the difficulty comes from mastering a given mission through achieving certain goals within it. The game's main story missions and boss battles aren't that difficult, but the world is scattered with side quests and challenges that will put your combat, stealth, traversal, and puzzle-solving skills to the test. Sony and Insomniac have lived up to fans' expectations and provided yet another must-play experience on the PS4. If you've somehow been on the fence about picking up a PS4 even after the release of God of War earlier this year, now is definitely the time. Marvel's Spider-Man features a story that rivals that of a Hollywood blockbuster. Some of the best visuals seen on home consoles, fantastic voice acting, and genre-defining gameplay. There's also a ton of content. A 15 to 20 hour main storyline, plenty of side missions, various challenges, a stream of collectibles and audio logs that help to build out the universe. And while some challenge missions begin to feel a little bit repetitive, there's plenty of variety to mix things up. Though the game doesn't take many risks, I was beyond impressed with what Insomniac came up with for this game, and super excited to see what they have in store for next game. Marvel's Spider-Man is not only my favorite game of the year, but it's been easily cemented as one of my favorite games of all time. That's why I gave it a 9.5. You can check out my full written review on Goliath.com. It'll be in the link in the description below. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on Marvel's Spider-Man. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until the next episode.